Thank you, Cafe Mutual, Naparna, for inviting me. I'm sorry I'm not be able to attend this I'm not able to attend this in person, but I think you have been kind enough to allow me to do a video address, which I'll do right now. So, no, about me, I'm sure the MC or the earlier speaker would have announced, but I have been with the earlier with SEBI and a regulator for almost 22 years. So, though I have not handled funds in my earlier avatar, I did handle a lot of equity and debt markets. So, coming to IPSCA was a very natural progression for me, and it has actually helped me, try to bring in some learnings from there. And of course, there are a lot of learnings and takeaways from here. Now, before I dwell upon the fund ecosystem in the IFSC and what all we as a regulator are trying to bring in, let me just give you a brief history on the IFSC and the IFSCA, because that is a little important before we sort of delve into what exactly the funds ecosystem is all about, which is by the way probably the most successful vertical as far as the IFSC and IPSCA is concerned. So, the idea of IFSC was conceived in 2007 when Mr. Percy Mistry and his team prepared a report on Mumbai being an international finance center. Now, while this did not take off, in the sense like Mumbai as a financial center did not take off because there were certain issues, but I think there are a lot of issues including political, geopolitics, etc. But the Gujarat government, picked up the gauntlet, and they said that in 2012 that they will sort of launch an international finance city. So that is how the IFSC, came into being. The name was coined as Gujarat International Finance Tech City, which is the acronym, which is what the acronym GIFT stands for. Now, while this happened initially, during the initial phase of the GIFT city, the regulators like SEBI, RBI, because in India we have multiple regulators for multiple segments and verticals. So you have an insurance regulator, securities market, banking regulator. So all of them were individually sort of bringing in circulars and requirements for people in the IFSC. But it was so that's a little difficult because you have different. It's a silo-esque approach, right? So that was something which was not thought pretty good for this environment. There was a need felt for a regulator which is unified. Now, if you look at international finance centers, now what sets apart an international finance center from from other centers? Essentially, it's like you have equal flow of capital. The regulator is approachable. There is a single regulator. It's not that multiple approaches to licensing. So when you are going to look at that aspect, then obviously the most important thing that start with is to have a unified regulator. So accordingly, the concept of a unified regulator was conceptualized in around 2019, and 2019-2020 the IFSCA came into being. Now, one of the things as to why we need a unified regulator is something which I have told you, but what we have sort of done is that we have tried our best to sort of benchmark our regulations to global best practices. So that is something which is essential for a place of this kind. It's essential we follow international practices, we bring in global practices. So I'm sure you who have your funds which are headquartered in different parts of the world are experiencing a lot of international rules and regulations and approaches by international regulators, right? So that is something which we thought we will bring here, and I think we have been fairly successful, including the most important thing on tax incentives that we have brought. So which is a 10-year tax holiday, a 100% tax holiday for 10 years, which has been quite successful if you ask me. And of course, over a period of time we want to ensure, and it is happening as we speak, that this place does not, we don't want to be a tax haven, and we are not a tax haven. This is a place where we want to build it as a credible institution, like a credible jurisdiction. And given this, given how business has grown here, I'm sure that is how our approach has been and is going to be. However, one of the things, two or three important things as to why the IFSCA or the objectives of IFSCA, if someone is going to ask me as to why has this been formed, then there are some 2 or 3 points. The first one is the tagline onshore the offshore. Now, a lot of Indians over a period of time, India has got a very huge demographic dividend, as we say. So over a period of time, whatever was considered our bane has been our boon. So Indians have settled in different parts of the world, and 1 in every 6 persons in the world is an Indian. So what has happened is that over a period of time, these people have started businesses. They either want Indians to invest, or probably even to sort of get into investing in Indian companies. So sort of migration, emigration into India, even the business, for example. So those are the things which probably people wanted to do. So these are one of the reasons as to why it was started was to onshore the offshore. So that is one tagline. The second one is that we want to be a gateway for global capital and bond flows, global funds flows rather. So it can be from anything, and this is something which we want to funnel into India. While our want is also to be a hub for outflows, for outbound, which is also happening as we speak. Primarily, the thing has been to funnel into India, because India, as we speak, is a huge nation with a lot of projects, sustainable or otherwise. So it requires a lot of capital, because one of the thought processes of the government is to make India a developed nation by 2047, and towards that, I think, and to do that, you really essentially need capital and funds. So this place, the IFSC, is meant to be a funnel for those tax flows. Thirdly, we also want to be a global hub for certain services, right? Like certain BFSI services, banking, financial services. Because if you look at it, this is the only special economic zone in India which is only for the purpose of financial services, right? So generally, an SEZ is for manufacturing, but this is the only place which is which has been conceptualized for financial services alone. And towards that, the IFSA is trying to drive people. Bring a lot of nuances, including international best practices, to this place. So towards that, the one unified regulator has multiple verticals, right? So you have one banking vertical, you have a capital markets vertical. In fact, the capital markets ecosystem is very developed here. We have our own stock exchanges. We have 2 stock exchanges of our own. We have a depository of our own. We have clearing corporations. So this is an ecosystem which is independent from the domestic India. So essentially, so that is why over a period of time we have sort of created around 30 odd regulations which are catering to banking, insurance, pension, capital market services, including very niche things like foreign universities and global capability centers, because this has led to almost the who's who of the financial world coming to the GIFT City. And I'm happy to say that if you look at it, almost the biggest names are already here. Interestingly, there are almost 30 banks who are also here, and if you look at it, 30 banks means you have it's equally distributed between Indian and foreign banks. So almost there are 15 or Indian banks, almost 15, 16 foreign banks who are doing business out of this place. So we have recognized 15 different currencies, including popular ones like euro, dollar, yen, etc., where business is being conducted. And it has been quite successful. Rupee is not the mode of business here. So this is essentially meant to be a global hub. So transactions and business is conducted only in foreign currency. Now, so be as it may, now this is something which I have said as far as the IFSCA is concerned. Now, the other one, as far as this conference is concerned, I also thought I will delve into something about the funds ecosystem here, because that is developing, and as I told you, it's the most successful vertical as far as IFSCA is concerned. Now, there are probably around 130, 135 fund managers who are already headquartered here. They have sort of established almost 180 funds in this place, and I am happy to say that the investor base has grown to almost 2,000 investors. And this is largely, this is in fact not even largely, in fact purely AIF. So we are expecting mutual funds to start very soon. Some of them have already got approval. Some of them are in the process of taking approvals, and with the 100% NRI funneling which has been approved by the government, this is just going to take off in the next few months, and you can just keep a watch on the numbers. This investor base is just going to sort of unravel itself and grow only up. As far as the commitments are concerned, it's almost $13 billion. If we have got funds raised are almost $6 billion, and the investments translate to almost $5 billion. So it's a healthy mix, and it is only growing, and we are happy about it. And one other issue is, like, for example, if you take domestic India, you have different regulations for different categories. Like you have one for PMS, one for AIFs, one for mutual funds, and one for investment advisors, for example, one's for REITs, InvITs. So we thought here we need to have a single unified regulation. So the FM regulations which were conceptualized, 3 years ago, they sort of cater to all these segments, like including all the ones which I talked to you about. So this unified regulation has been helpful because it sort of clears a lot of things about net worth, and it also has got a uniform practice. Practices are sort of used for all these intermediaries. It also has helped us in having a single licensing, right? So that is also essential. So, because even for example, capital market intermediaries, there are places where you can have a single license, you can do multiple, intermediate, you can function as multiple intermediaries. Similarly, for example, if you take a Cat 3 license, you can function, like even as an advisor. So those are the advantages which we want to sort of put in, and the fund management regulations have actually helped. Now, the growth of this place has also ensured that industry associations like Cafe Mutual is probably not an industry association, but a congregation of industry professionals. But we also have got industry professionals, industry bodies like the IVCA, the PEVC, CFO, bodies. So these are people who have they have looked at this place, and they have nurtured this place, if I should actually say, by giving their views and also bringing in best practices. See, one of the things that is that while we of course do have our ear to the ground, it's all the more made possible by by the industry associations. In fact, the PEVC CFO, as if I say it right, they also have a chapter here. Right, they have a branch office here, so it's been very useful. It has actually helped to keep the policy needle moving. Now we have also issued certain clarifications on ease of doing business. I'll come to the fund management regulations next, because that is something which I'm sure all of you are very eagerly awaiting. Because we are having the authority meeting this month, and once it's approved, the fund management regulations, we have put the draft regulations on the site. So I think you must have studied those, and most of these things are enablers and developmental activities and ease of doing business, which the industry is sort of looking forward to. Now, what we have done is that certain clarifications have already been issued in the last 1 year on certain things. First is to ease business. We have said that earlier we were offering observations on offer documents, so we said that no, we will not be issuing that anymore. You can file and then fly, start off, take funds immediately. So this has actually helped in shaving off almost 30 to 60 days, which used to happen earlier. So that is one ease of doing business things. And of course, the other one is the 100% NRA investment, which is just about to take off, because though it got approved, there were some tax fees which had to be approved, which got also clarified in the July interim budget, if I can sort of say that. And we had brought in this concept of accredited investors, which is also a growing community here. Sovereign wealth funds. So we have heard, big sovereign wealth funds, like for example RDR. We also have got, Suzuki and other funds also who have come here, and for them certain clarifications were also issued by us. Ostensibly, only because of the fact that they are sovereign wealth funds. So some carve-outs had to be given to them, which were sort of taken care of by us. And then we have also allowed CRAs to value schemes. That is something. And of course, one thing is that which we can tell you is that of the tax law, as far as the tax piece is concerned, on REITs and InvITs and other different issues, we are continuously in engagement with the government. And this has helped. A lot of changes in the budget which have come, but I'm sure over a period of time it will take off. There will be more changes in the budget, because we are a growing institution, we are a growing jurisdiction. We need to also show progress, like whatever incentives have been doled out earlier should translate into progress. So should translate into figures. So that is something which we are happening, which are happening as we see, including the tax treatment for retail schemes and certain amendments to the FPI regulations, which we did along with SEBI. In fact, on this particular issue, we had word with SEBI and the ministry to bring the 100% NRA piece to India, which is going to take off. Now, what the approach that we adopt to making regulations is something which is important. We are a consultative, participative regulator. We are very transparent. We even place our, all the rules, regulations, consultative papers, etc. on the website. So, so we in fact do a two-step consultation. We first inform that we are going to consult, which means that you can have your warm up your thoughts, and you can give it to the regulator. And then what we do, we collect those, and then we come out with some rules and regulations which are draft. Before this, we actually consult the committee. There is a very elaborate fund management committee which are made up of experts from different parts of the world, India and abroad, and the biggest who's who of of the fund management industry is actually there. So this is sort of helped in us bringing in a lot of developmental initiatives, and also we have also been able to hear them and take back to the government on what are the things that you need from the government as far as the tax and other issues are concerned. So this has actually helped us, and it's also helped the industry. Now coming to the new fund management regulations, which we as a regulator are quite excited about. As I told you, it is there on the website. The new draft is already on the website, and this has been taken into has been prepared for taking into account almost 300 comments from the industry. And in fact, even after we received those 300 comments, we received probably 50 or 100 comments more, and which we have ensured that we will take them into account. And all these things have been discussed in the fund management committee meeting, and there are certain innovative schemes and certain difficulties which were expressed by the industry have also been ironed out. There were certain difficulties which were expressed in the matter of principal officer, compliance officer appointments, etc., which we have tried our best to also bring in. And the other issue also which we have brought down is the corpus from 5 billion to 3 billion. So I mean 5 million to 3 million. So these are all things which are also there, and certain norms for open-ended schemes have been relaxed, and the PMS minimum investment is also getting reduced from the present 150,000. So these are all things which are good. And one thing which I want to make use of this opportunity to tell you all is that while we are very happy that the fund ecosystem is growing, there are two things where we would certainly want the funding ecosystem to grow. One is foreign FIFs, so that piece is clear. So we would really want foreign family investment funds to come here and make use of this. So that is something in the hands of US fund management entities. So you can bring them. And secondly, the issue of ESG funds. So ESG funds are pretty important. India as a country needs almost 10 trillion US dollars as far as ESG is concerned. And one of the modes of, while of course green bonds and sustainable bonds are being raised, funds actually play a very huge role in bringing in. Internationally also the assets under management are almost close to 45 to 50 trillion by different estimates. So that is actually exponential, that is huge. So we would want some of that to come here, because India needs funds, Indian companies need funds. So recently there was an issue of sovereign green bonds, of course not the IFSC. While we have enabled it, probably the next tranche could actually happen here. So this is something which we would want to do. Now on ESG funds, to encourage ESG funds, what we have done is that for the first 10 funds, we have said that we will exempt the fee. Now it's quite a substantial amount. So we have said that we will exempt the fee. So this has led to, and initially actually while this has been there for quite some time, it was not known to a few funds. So we had come with one more press release sort of saying that okay, this is available, and this has helped 2 or 3 more funds in getting registered. So there are still 6 slots available for grabs. So in case entities want to launch ESG funds now, so then please do it, because this fee is exempt. So that should act as there's a small sweetener, but that is something which should act as a catalyst for you to sort of establish ESG funds. And that's also a noble thing. It also helps because sustainable finance is something that is needed, and funds can be possibly one of the biggest funnels of that kind of money. So that is something which we expect to happen. While these are all the development activities, these are all the tax incentives, these are all the good things, right? Happy things, and these I'm sure you are also happy you have sort of developed this whole ecosystem. But there is also something else which I need to make use of this opportunity to tell you, is that while as I told you when I started this this conversation, that we don't want to be a tax haven. We are not a tax haven. We want substance here. Right? We want to make this place a credible institution, a credible jurisdiction, and for that we need the players also to be credible. So while we understand difficulties in having principal officers, compliance officers, analysts, etc., but over a period of time, if this place is only made use of to only take advantage of the tax incentives but not establish a place of credibility, because tax incentives cannot be permanent. After a point in time, they will sort of, come down, or they may wither or whatever, but it's important that this ecosystem develops, right? If you look at international jurisdictions like Hong Kong or Singapore, they don't run just because of the fact that they have tax incentives. They run because they have an ecosystem. So we are trying to develop an ecosystem. We are getting foreign universities here. We are entering into agreements and MOUs with different players like IIM, EA, etc., so that the talent can be tapped. We want credible people to be here, because something which has come to our notice after some visits to a few funds is that some of them are not available at the premises. Certain premises are closed, people are not available. And what we have done is that we have given some time for people to get back, bring those people, and we had also issued reminders. And as a result of this, almost 14 advisories have been issued to FMEs. In one case, we have issued a warning. And in certain cases, we also found that there is inadequate net worth, for which we had also issued a circular that you can't, carry on business in case you are having inadequate net worth. So these are all things which I want fund managers to ensure that they don't happen. How will this happen? This is possible only when you have credible people, and not people for the sake of it. It's not be a checkbox approach as far as appointing POs or COs is concerned. So yeah, that is something which is non-negotiable, right? As a regulator, we want to say that. So while we are here to handhold you, we are here to bring you developmental initiatives, we are here to, to also, parlay with the government on certain tax-related matters. But it is important that you, as fund managers, you as fund management entities, make this place a credible ecosystem. And for that, it is something which is not in our hands, which is in your hands. Because what the regulator can do, the regulator can only ensure that it takes disciplinary action. So that is not something which we want to do. We want to develop this place, and we can be partners in doing that. So we really want your support as far as that is concerned. So that is it then. So I'm really happy. I wish the conference once again the very best, and we'll continue to partner you in all the developmental initiatives. We are a consultative regulator. We are participating. We'll continue to do that. Anytime if you have anything, feel free to reach out to us. Our email IDs are available on the websites. Some of you even have our phone numbers. So please drop in a text, or please drop in emails in case you have thoughts, in case you have any international best practices which can be emulated here. So we are certainly happy to do that. Thank you so much. I wish the conference all success.